I just think it's so funny, and I think you'll see lots of First Amendment criticisms. So the White House has barred AP's White House correspondent from taking part in press briefings, and it's largely because the AP style policy has not adopted Gulf of America. They're maintaining the phrase Gulf of Mexico. I'll point out here that this is AP News reporting on itself being treated badly, but had to get their side of the story. The White House blocked an Associated Press reporter from an event in the Oval Office Tuesday after demanding that the news agency alter its style of the Gulf of Mexico, which President Donald Trump has ordered renamed the Gulf of America. The reporter, whom the AP would not identify, tried to enter the White House event as usual Tuesday afternoon and was turned away. Later, a second AP reporter was barred from a late evening event at the White House diplomatic reception room. The highly unusual ban, which the Trump administration officials had threatened earlier Tuesday unless AP changed the style of the Gulf, could have constitutional free speech implications. Funny how they cry free speech when it's something they don't like, but when it's your free speech, they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're the ones cheerleading censorship. They're the ones cheerleading the destruction of the First Amendment. This is epic. This is beautiful. I love this because it's a litmus test. It's so incredible.
Just about to say that. Like it goes to show that you're not willing to be truthful in your reporting.
Well, they never have. The AP has a lot of ties to a lot of the intel agencies, the State Department, that essentially tells them what to say. And you look at the larger kind of U.S. aid funding, you look at the larger kind of inner workings and the love relationship that they had with the government, it's over. They got broken up on Valentine's Day. That is brutal. Go home, weep away, you prostitutes of the horse-stream media. It's over. Don't call me. Stop texting me. Why are you bothering me? Stop it. And I love it. This is, it's petty, but yet it's so classic. It's incredible.
Right. I mean, it's really a dedication to Trump's policy. Trump said it's Gulf of America, and his administration isn't going to allow any exceptions. Obviously, the White House press briefing room has been packed recently, in large part because they restored something like 400 press passes that had been removed during the Biden era. And they also started welcoming independent media. So it seems like very clear that the White House is extremely pro free speech. It's very supportive of a wide variety of journalists in a way that the Biden administration simply never was. And the best AP can come up with was this has implications for free speech because we aren't willing to honor the executive order. You're so self-absorbed.
The notices there stated that it was their, quote, dedication to misinformation as the reason for their banning. So that's sufficient. I mean, if we're using that protocol, I mean, we might as well ban all of the corporate media, right?
Well, and like if Apple Maps and Google Maps and everyone else is complying with the change, what are we doing here, AP? Like, why are you the one people who get to be like, no, we don't recognize this?
And listen, this is petty. This is extremely petty. But I love it. I love every bit of pettiness here. It is well worth it. And if there ever was a way to kind of fight this larger information war, it's this way, I think, as the vast majority of the people are so disillusioned, so pissed off at the corporate media that when they're seeing these like little petty battles, they're like, yeah, good riddance. Thank you, Donald Trump, for doing this and kicking them out because of this larger kind of executive order that they don't really want to recognize themselves. Just highlights the larger kind of culture clash that really is indicative of the meme culture that is being played out in real time in such a fascinating way.
Yeah. Gothix, do you feel like this is the White House trolling AP, or do you think this is petty? What's your take?
I don't think it's petty. I just think it's like you said, it's a litmus test. You're exposing people who aren't willing to tell the truth. Now, I will say I don't like the idea of, implying, well, every other media outlet is saying this thing and you're the only one that's left behind. So obviously you're the one that's lying, because they did that stuff to us like the last couple of years where all the media outlets were reporting lies. And so you got this one anomaly, whatever outlet telling the truth, and they're the one that's spreading so-called disinformation. But I wouldn't classify what they're doing with AP as censorship by any means. I think you need to earn the right to be in that room. And if you don't intend on actually reporting the truth, then you shouldn't be there.
Right. I think it is a difference between saying, you know, you guys are misrepresenting the administration already, and therefore we don't think you're reliable. The AP News can continue to report on the Trump administration. They are able to comment on it. They just don't have access, which, by the way, tons of people didn't have this kind of access to the last administration. It's almost like institutional arrogance, I think, because the AP is such a large organization, because they set the style guide, because they've always had a press access. They feel as though they are entitled to it. And I like this shakeup of being like, just because you're corporate media doesn't mean you get to stay.
Snobbery.
It's an interesting landscape, especially now with this new administration being more open to independent media. I know we filed for our press credentials, so we're waiting to hear back about our time that we could spend potentially in the White House briefing room that I'm super excited about. As Gary Franchi was there, Chris Pavlovsky was there inside of the White House press briefings. It's awesome to see this larger kind of recognition of really the downtrodden, the beat up, the ever so attacked independent media that was deplatformed, demonetized, that didn't get the USAID money like the corporate media was doing, that didn't get the unfair advantages with all of the social media algorithms and boosts. It's really indicative of them being the dinosaur prostitutes that are just absolutely withering away, dying away, and becoming more and more irrelevant.
Right. If you were to say, oh, well, George W. Bush didn't have independent media in his press room, I would say he probably should have, but also it wasn't the industry it is now. Really, independent media, and in large part because of platforms like Rumble, because of the conversion of Twitter to X and everything that came with that, the landscape looks different. And I think that's what upsets AP the most, that they are basically like, you get scooped by not being in the room. They want to be able to say, well, we're the standard and we're the reliable. And, they'll still have the institutional prowess, but they don't have the respect of this administration. And I think that kills them.
Yeah, the AP is fake news trash that was, dependent on socialist handouts from the federal government that no longer will be getting front row access, no longer will be prioritized, because why should you? You have a track record of lying to the American people. The independent media that, again, there was a whole unfair advantage against is the real media, is the people who are willing to actually have a legitimate, honest conversation and actually hear back from the people that they're talking to. The AP doesn't do any of that. They released a statement, and they said that, quote, "It is a plain violation of the First Amendment, and we urge the Trump administration in the strongest terms to stop this practice." Why do you think you're better than everyone else? Why do you think you should be allowed to be in the front row? Why do you think you are so entitled? This is the reality that I think they're now finally facing, being like, oh man, it's now an open and honest landscape where the people decide. And truly, this is a great thing.